Headquarters will bring you exclusive insights, breaking news, and unbiased reporting from every corner of Ghana.
The people have met him with excitement and they keep chanting Savior to imply that they believe that he holds the key to turning the economic fortunes of the country.
As Vice President, I am like a driver's mate. But by the grace of God, if you make me the president, I will be in the driver's seat with constitutional.
We dive deep into the strategies, the promises, and the people shaping the future of our country. Election brief isn't just about the headlines. It is about the voices of the people.
This is an election. These people came to us that they are going to maintain everyone. And here is the case. We have the videos, evidence. And now they've taken our names out. Look at the number of people in here. And you expect us to let the election go on. Never.
Join the conversation and have your say. Your voice matters in shaping Ghana's future. Catch the election brief every weekday from 2 to 2:30 p.m. only on JoyNews. JoyNews, your election headquarters.
Welcome to the maiden edition of the JoyNews Impact Makers Award.
Tonight we gather here to honor and celebrate individuals.
Celebrate the goodness in our humanity.
And create more inclusive, compassionate, and thriving societies.
The overall winner, Isaac Ajawato.
In a land where dreams are often cradled in the arms of hope, there exists a league of unsung heroes. They are the silent architects of change, the torchbearers who illuminate paths where once there was only darkness. From the verdant stretches of our farms to the innovative labs of science, from the warm embrace of humanitarian aid to the simplest acts of kindness. These are the change makers who sculpt the future of our nation, stitch by stitch. Unknown to them, their acts of selflessness have resonated across the land, stirring the hearts of many and sparking a movement of recognition and celebration. It's that time of the year again. JoyNews proudly presents the Impact Makers Awards 2024. Join us in our quest to spot and honor those steadfast warriors who are remolding the destiny of our communities and our nation. This is your moment to nominate the unsung hero in your midst, the beacon of change whose story deserves to be told. To nominate your Impact Maker of the Year, send your entries to impact.makersAwards@myjoyonline.com. Let's amplify their stories. The JoyNews Impact Makers Awards, celebrating ordinary people making extraordinary impact.
Welcome back on the AM show. It's time now for the news review, and I've been joined by NDC parliamentary candidate for Efutu, James Kofanan, is my guest in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Kofanan. It's a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure.
This is your second attempt as a parliamentary candidate for the constituency, Futu.
Yes, this is my second attempt, and I'm hoping to be able to annex the seat for the NDC come December 7th.
Right.
Yes.
How is it looking?
It's looking good. You know, I believe that the NDC has a track record in the constituency. Nearly every school that has been established in the constituency prior to 1992 was established by the NDC. The NDC is the party that extended electricity to almost every village in the constituency. So if you go to Iswechi, you go to Osubompe, Atetu, all those satellite communities were put on the national grid by the NDC.
Okay.
We used to have perennial water problem in the Futu constituency, and the NDC became the party or the government that solved the problem, and not only to solve the problem, but also extended water to all the villages that are in the Futu constituency. So if you go to a Futu constituency now, there is no community that has no water, and it is because of the NDC government that implemented the project. So the NDC stand tall when it comes to development projects in the constituency. And all the projects that the NDC has done are strategic projects. They are not a project that are not sustainable, like water, for instance. You know, once the community gets water, it will be there forever.
Good submission there.
Thank you.
I just asked how it's going, but you seem to have a lot of information on, you know, where you're going and all that. Now, it's like a tradition here. Before we get into the newspapers or the topics that we want to actually delve into, there are a number of things happening in the country. We're looking at the doctors at the Kofanan Teaching Hospital who are striking because the government seems to be turning a blind eye to their issues, accommodation issues. There's also the recent power cut issues. What topical issue would you like to share your opinion on before we get into the actual of the day?
I would like to look at the doctors' situation.
Right.
See, basically the story is that the doctors have been evicted because a private developer is coming to take over the land on which their bungalows are situated and they are living in. And the private developer is going to put up structures, you know, in their estate. But it's an unfortunate situation that we have to come to this level. Why should it be that in this country now, everything that belongs to the government is being taken over by private persons, private interests, to unless it's for their personal or parochial interest, instead of the larger interest of society? These are doctors who must have a place to stay and be comfortable to be able to look after the patients, their clients that comes to the hospitals. Now you are asking them to move out of their bungalows. You have given them ultimatum. So what should they do? They have to spend their time looking for accommodation in order for them to relocate their families and be comfortable. At the time they are looking for accommodation, what are you expecting them to do? Do you want them to be working as doctors in the hospitals when they are looking for accommodations? No. So obviously there's a problem here. Not long ago, we saw how the bungalows of the judges were pulled down, how the offices of the passport office was pulled down to make way for a cathedral. Now the cathedral is still sitting at the whole level or the dugout level. We could have allowed those bungalows to be there whilst we're planning for the cathedral. And I will not be surprised that this Kofanan Teaching Hospital situation will be similar. That these people will be evicted, the bungalows will be pulled down, and we will not see anything there. No, so it's rather unfortunate. And I support the Ghana Medical Association's stand that the government would have to put a stop to it. The doctors need the bungalows to live in order to be able to work. And there must be proper consultation. I'm sure if there was a proper consultation between the hospital workers and government, we would not have come to this level.
Right. Yesterday we saw how some patients were even stranded at the hospital, outpatients, because there was no doctor on call. And so people's lives are in danger. And, you know, standing on the edge of such a precipice, I don't know where we go from here.
But were you expecting them to come to work? Well, no, naturally, if you're evicting me and I have a family, I have children, I have to be able to settle my family before I come to work. And this is not even about strike. This is about the human quest to live and to have a place where you can lay your head. You came from home here, to work. If you didn't have accommodation, where would you have put up for the night and be able to come to work? So we don't expect them to come to work because you are giving them eviction notice. You get the point. Exactly.
Well, I was just trying to, you know, let you understand that we've seen people who are stranded at the hospital, and it's not a pleasant sight. You know, that is the state of our nation right now. But let's talk about your 24-hour economy policy, proposed policy, because you're also on the ticket of the NDC. Your flag bearer is saying that should he be given the mandate, he's going to turn our economy into a 24-hour system, sort of. How will this work in your constituency, in the people of Ifutu? I'm asking because I have a little background in Ifutu. I schooled in Winneba, so I see how the community is more like, it's more seasonal. It comes alive seasonally. You know, when there are students on campus, it's like the community is thriving. There are activities in town. But when the schools are on vacation, there seems to be not as much life in there. How will this 24-hour economy work in a place like yours?
You have honestly, rightly diagnosed Winneba. The economy of Winneba is very seasonal in many ways. The farmers, you know, farming is seasonal, and we are fishermen, so fishing is also very seasonal, as you know. And we have this university that gives some vibrancy to the town when they are in school. But once they are gone, then the town becomes nearly empty, you know. So we don't have much activity, economic activities, when the students are not in school. And that is why, as people of Ifutu, we are so excited about the 24-hour economy policy that the John Mahama administration intends to implement. Because it will benefit us more than probably anyone.
How would it benefit you?
You know, in my 2020 campaign, I did promise the people of Ifutu that I will establish a central market, Winneba Central Market. We have one market in Mankasim. We have another one in Aguna Shedro. Then there's one in Kaswa. Winneba sits in between. It's a junction. And we don't have any significant market in the town. And so I thought that once I establish that market, that will give some life, you know, to pull traffic to the town. Now, just a few weeks ago, the ex-president John Mahama, who is our flag bearer, came to the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission event and pledged that, you know, Pomazi Poultry Farm, that had been there for many, many years. It collapsed and was put on divestiture and was acquired by the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission. So they own it. He pledged that he is going to assist the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission to revitalize the Pomazi Poultry Farm and bring it back to its old glory of employing mass number of the youth in the area and beyond. Now, if we have the Winneba Central Market and the Pomazi Poultry Farm, which is a stone throw away from each other, you're talking about an economic environment that is vibrant enough to attract traffic from all over the country, including Accra, Shedru, Bojoisi, Mankasim, and beyond.
But the actual implementation, issues or ramifications of running a 24-hour economy? In simple terms, how would it work in a community where you've also agreed that it's seasonal?
No, so once we have that policy, the policy will come with regulatory environment.
Right.
What you can do, who gets incentive, companies that get in, the incentive that they will get, and so on and so forth. So once you have been able to establish the policy framework, then you are allowing private government partnership to establish businesses that will run within the confines of the 24-hour economy. And that's why I brought in the Winneba Central Market and the Pomazi Poultry Farm. And once they are established within the framework of the 24-hour economy, then you are talking about the Pomazi Poultry Farm producing and bringing their production to the Winneba Central Market and running it 24 hours.
Okay.
And once we have the university community also, because of the 24-hour economy, student and unemployment situation in this country, a lot of these students, when they vacate, they don't have anything to do. They will decide to work within the Winneba Central Market and the Pomazi Poultry Farm, and they will be able to run this 24-hour shift, and the majority of the students will be able to get employment. And when we were in school, in my days in Legon, a lot of students would vacate and travel to UK and go and do some shawo, 2 months, 3 months work and come back. Now you don't have to do that. You can conveniently get employment in the Pomazi Poultry Farm and the Winneba Central Market. And because of the 24-hour economy, more people can be employed.
We don't have enough time, so let's move on from this topic. The flag bearer has appointed Professor Jainano Pokwajiman as his running mate. And we've had lots of opinions. Even your incumbent member of parliament and majority leader, Apenyo Makin, has said a lot about your choice of running mates. People have questioned his competency, experience. What's your opinion? Give me a sense of your thoughts when it comes to the choice of Jainano Pokwajiman as the running mate come December 2024.
Well,
does she have what it takes
to give
NDC the power you're looking for?
Of course. His choice is strategic. You made mention of my member of parliament making comments about her. I don't want to go in that area. I'm told that she taught him in school. There's a song that I know that has a refrain. It says, in tree, it says, so okosia kotonsuom na onyansani yinoa ne ho no na no so. Do you get that refrain? So okosia, you understand okosia?
What's okosia?
Okosia means foolish.
Okay.
When a foolish man falls into the waters and a wise man comes to take him out of the water, once his body is drying, his mouth is also drying.
Explain. How does it relate to what you're trying to say?
No, basically it means that when people are helped out of distress situations, after being helped, they forget the distress situation they were in, and they begin to talk as if they are of their own. They didn't need anybody's help to get to where they are. So as they are getting their freedom and convenience in life, they begin to talk big. Yes.
Benjamin and I do this thing where we, in this month, Ghana month, where we give proverbs, share proverbs in our local languages. But and I don't think we want to get into who is Okasia and who
No.
So,
I'm not interested in that.
So let's talk about the competency of your choice of running mate.
Ghana has had a lot of women trailblazers. We had the Professor Dolphins, who became the first woman professor in this country, and then went on to become the first female provost in this country. And we have had the Ama Atedus, the A4 Sutherlands. These are people who blazed the trail, when we were growing up. But one person that has really done well in blazing the trail is Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, becoming the first ever vice president of a public university, vice chancellor of a public university in this country. And she did not just get there by chance. It was as a result of her competency that gave her that opportunity. And coming into the Ministry of Education, we all saw what this woman did. Across the country, look at the senior secondary school that was established in this country. Everywhere. In Central Region alone, we had 11 senior high schools. In fact, the administration of Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman gave Central Region 18 senior high schools. At the time the president was leaving office, 10 of them had been commissioned. So this is a woman who has, in her own right, is very competent. Now, what is competency? What are we looking around? We are looking at somebody who was in the government of the NDC that left office with 4 cedi to $1 at the time they left office. Now we are looking at a vice president who so-called is an economist who is leaving office with over 13 Ghana cedis to $1. So how do we define competency here? For me, John Mahama has made a clear anti-corruption statement in the choice of Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. This is a woman who became a Minister of Education for 4 years. A woman who became a Vice Chancellor of a whole university. Look at her lifestyle. Have you ever heard any corruption tag on her?
Well, we've not heard. Does not mean that it's not. I mean, we cannot say whether or not.
She lives a very simple life. Very simple life as opposed to the opulence.
So she's the one to lead you.
She's the one,
John Mahama,
the right
to bring
person.
you the victory that you're looking for.
It is not only about victory. It's about the stability that her modest life brings to the tickets and brings to the government of the NDC. It is about the statement of the intolerance for corruption.
Do you think Ghana is ready for a female president?
Ghana is more than
because
ready.
John Mahama can only go 1 term.
Yes.
The onus falls on Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman.
We are not talking about presidency at this moment. We are talking about...
Well, in her position, it's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
And she qualifies. You know, I know where you are coming from. The issue that have been put out there about age.
Especially when the president is absent.
You are talking about age issue. Yeah. That's what I know you are thinking about.
No,
because people have put out there. How old is Joe Biden of America?
80 something.
81 years.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is 81 years. Donald Trump, who is contesting Joe Biden, who was the president of America, is 77 years. How old is Jane? Jane is only 72 years. So age doesn't come in. And when you talk about the person to be the next president, if she so wishes, she's more than qualified. This is a professor you're talking about, right? Somebody who has gone through all the stages in academia in terms of being a lecturer and a senior lecturer and being a professor, associate professor, and a full professor. That's the person we are talking about here. So when it comes to whatever you would seek for in terms of competency, academic competency, she's there. But also somebody who has experience in administration. A dean of students, somebody who has been a pro-VC and has been a vice chancellor, and a minister of education. Don't cut me yet. Okay. But somebody who combines both and brings such a value to the confines of the NDC's John Mahama administration. Those who are in presidency right now, where were they before becoming a president? Our president who has failed the whole nation was just a lawyer and a minister. Right. The vice president who has failed, hopefully, and now running away from his own, expertise, was a deputy governor of Bank of Ghana. That is all. That's all her claim to fame. But we are talking about a vice chancellor and a minister and somebody who is a trailblazer, you know, in whatever you will tell it. So now we celebrated, and the entire NDC celebrated for her choice. And we know why we celebrated. We know what she's bringing on the ticket. You are a feminist. You are a woman advocate. All the women advocates in this country must now join Nana to have the first ever female vice president of this country.
This makes me want to play the devil's advocate and ask you this question.
Yes.
No, you know, no malice intended, right? You know the politics we play in this country. It's down dirty sometimes, you know, where politicians call out, you know, their opponents, call them names, dress them down, ridicule some of their initiatives and stuff. If Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman was not a woman, the comments Apenyo Markin made about how old this person is, do you think that you would have taken it as seriously? You would have made such an issue about this as you're making because she's a woman?
You see, I don't want you to drag me into that dirty arena.
Okay.
Apenyo Markin has put himself
right.
in. Because you see,
I'm just wondering if
I was born by a woman.
It would have been the same.
It wouldn't be the same. That's why I'm so disappointed, my sister.
Right.
I was born by a woman. You were born by a woman.
I am a woman.
You were a woman. She was born by a woman. You understand? So why would you even go there? And you are a majority leader. We expect more decency from your mouth, from your lips. We expect more decency from your office. We expect you to know better. But you know, as I said, so okosia kotonsium na onyansani kodina ne wono na no so. And I will also add one. That you see, he who the gods will destroy, he first makes them mad. I'm sure you have heard of that proverb when we were in school. I mean, I think one of the Shakespeare's writings, you know, he who the gods will destroy first makes them mad. So allow those who want to tag her and ridicule her, allow them the chance. But those decent minds in this country, discerning minds, would know and appreciate that a woman who has 3 children, all her children are in positions of decency, some even outside this country. A woman who has gone through the same competitions that men present to women. You see how it is on the university campus.
We have to move on.
And finally become a vice chancellor and a running mate, the first ever running mate of the 2 major political parties. You make such a comment about her. Is that, are you okay?
Okay, so let's get into the newspapers. Personally, I appreciate the woman because she's the first to do what she's doing in her position. So honestly, no malice intended. But it's good that you shared your opinion on that bit. In the Daily Graphic newspaper, on the front page, it says the 50,000 people to receive job skills. That is the launch of the Ghana Apprenticeship program by Vice President. The story is on page 3 of the Daily Graphic. And Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Dr. Fred Cheyasamo, those who were present over there, launched a comprehensive program to provide a competency-based training to about 50,000 individuals, which was launched in Accra. They're saying the primary goal of the Ghana Apprenticeship Program initiative is to be overarching program providing apprenticeship training tailored to the demands of the contemporary jobs and fostering a bridge between traditional apprenticeship systems and modern systems of education. We know that the gap in the skills sets, or the demand and supply, the discrepancies between demand and supply when it comes to the skills we need and the jobs available in this country, or even industrialization, apprenticeship, whatever, is huge. And so would you say this is a good initiative? Would you say that this is a step in the right direction to launch a program like this where 50,000 people, I'm assuming young people, get the opportunity to learn some skills or improve their skills so that they are better suited to do something for themselves. What are your thoughts on this issue?
Well, ordinarily, this should be a good initiative.
Right.
Ordinarily, we have over
ordinarily,
yes, over 1.8 million individuals not employed in this country. 1.3 million of them are youth. So if the youth are going to be given skills to be able to gain employment, that should be a fine idea. But unfortunately, I think that this government is just trying hard to throw money, to places that should not necessarily go. Why am I saying that? We have the TVET centers across this country. You go and ask them. There are people who have been employed in the TVET institutions for over a year, some as far back as 2 years ago. They have not received their salaries. There are some of these TVET centers which has been established without equipment. There are some of these TVET centers which have been established that does not have the manpower or the personnel to train the student. You are creating this amorphous program to give skills to young people. What happens to the TVET institutions
that has been established? But you think that this is a competency-based program?
But that's exactly the reason why the TVET institutions were established in the first place. The TVET institution is the counterpart to the senior high schools. The senior high schools are academic. The TVET institutions are skills-based. Skills-based is the same as competency-based. Right. But we have these institutions there that are, you have not even paid their salaries. Why don't you give this 800 million Ghana cedis to these institutions? Do you remember USTAT? It was the same model that was envisaged, giving more than 10 billion or so Ghana cedis to do a USTAT, training young people to be able to access jobs and so on and so forth. What happens to it? We rather have to, in my view, have to give these resources to the existing institutions. Resource them, make them more competent, make them more able to train the young ones so that by the time they come out, they will be able to acquire the same skills that you are envisaging them to acquire. In that case, the workers, the employees of those institutions will be paid their salaries. In that case, those institutions will have the requisite tools that they will need to run the institutions. In that case, they will not run out of food for the students who are there. You will go inside this and you will see that it is all created for some political headlines. And you will go inside and you will see that the selections will be done skewed to some party executives and party agents. And then you go inside and you realize that it is a procurement project.
During the ministerial vetting of Dr. Hamidu, the minister designate for works and housing, he was of the opinion that training colleges and polytechnics should not be converted into universities because it defeats the very purpose of establishing a polytechnic. Is it in the same line of what you're saying, that we should keep the TVETs or the institutions that are already set to manage technical vocational training and skills and just focus on making them better as compared to launching a program like this? Is that what you're saying?
You see, the situation with the polytechnics is different.
Okay.
You have the universities that are academic. The polytechnics are giving skills like, I would say, competency-based. So you can upgrade the institution and still they will run the models. After all, those who go to polytechnics also aim to go and do their masters.
But the polytechnics is supposed to give you a more refined, hands-on
experience.
Just like the TVETs and the other vocational training institutions.
Yeah, but it's still different. Hands-on experience go up from, down from the secondary level to the university. So you can even go and do your master's and PhD in those areas. Okay. But this one, read the story well. You see that the creation is not an educational creation. It's a project that will select people, train them. It's like in vitro fertilization in women. You are taking the sperm of the man and taking the eggs of the woman out of their bodies and fertilizing them and then putting them back into the womb of the woman. And then artificial insemination and then making the baby out of it. If you have the resources, why don't you, if the man can fertilize the woman, why don't you allow the man to do and get the fertilization inside? In that case, it becomes simple without all the unnecessary costs that are associated with it.
Fair point. This is the Ghanaian Times. There's a story here that inflation declines marginally to 23.2%, according to the Statistical Service. Now, the country's year-on-year inflation declined to 23.2% in the month of February, this last month, by 23.5% recorded in January 2024. This represents a marginal drop of 0.3 percentage points relative to the previous month. So latest figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service shows that the month-on-month inflation between January and February was 1.6%. The government statistician, Professor Samuel Enim, presenting the data at the news conference, said the non-food inflation declined to 20.0% in February from 20.5% in January. So they're talking about inflation seeing a decline to 23.2%. That's according to the Ghana Statistical Service. I would say that I do not know for sure if this is reflecting in the pockets of the ordinary Ghanaian, but what are your views on this?
I was going to ask you, because I'm sure you go to the markets. Somebody once said the best way to know and judge inflation is in your pocket. How does it reflect in your pockets? We are talking about price increases here. We're talking about the cost of doing business. And we're talking about planning our lives around our incomes. In a year, I understand government increased salaries by 30% for the whole year. Once the salaries have been increased, you have to wait for the next year before your salary is increased. Remember, inflation is not 23%, as you are saying, throughout the year. Like it is once it's 23%, it means that it will not increase again. It is cumulative. So if you have a country which has the best economist as the vice president, the person who is going to be the messiah to rescue us from wherever they thought we were to now, having 23% inflation, and you want us to celebrate you, then I will say that you have failed even in your own values. Because this 23% is this month. Next month, it may be the same 23%. Only if, let's say, next month it will be 20%. It's still not enough to take us away from the erosion in our salaries. If your salary, as you see today, if your salary is 10,000 Ghana cedis a month, and you have to wait till the end of the year or one whole year before your salary is reviewed, and you're always having 23% as inflation, what it means is that by the end of the year, your salary in actual value will be about maybe 4,000 Ghana cedis. Because every month, what you can afford or what you could afford with the 10,000, you can no longer afford with that 10,000.
But in a way, the figures seem like this is good for us because it's a decline.
It's a decline. It's a decline.
It's inflation.
But what do you want us to say? Do you want us to praise somebody? Is that what you are saying? You move us from, you took us from single-digit inflation to 54%. And because we are stabilizing from that to 23, you want us to praise you. But
well,
who took us there?
The president did say during his address at the 6th March parade in Koforidua that we are nearing the brink, or we are on the brink of an economic revolution. Things are about to get
economic
better. So
revolution.
wouldn't you say this speaks to it?
If
we are experiencing a decline in the numbers, in the figures, inflation.
You see,
is that...
I don't get you, my sister. I don't get you. You had 4 years plus 4 years, making 8 years. You had an economic messiah who you presented to us as the best in this continent, on this continent. We had a president who told us that Ghana is going to move from taxation to industrialization, meaning that Ghana was going to make economic gains that we will not need to talk about inflation. So why are we talking about inflation now? You get my point. Why are we talking about inflation now when you said that you are moving us from taxation to industrialization? One district, one factory. Now, one village, one dam. Now, you came to power and you gave us one dugout, one whatever. Even the dugout that you gave us are dry during the dry season. The very reason why the dams were supposed to be created, you gave us dugouts that do not have water when we have the dry season, and then flat villages when there's rainfall. So the talk about inflation coming down, I don't get it, because we were single digits, and you are the one who took us to that 23% or 24% or 25%, whatever it is. So why do we celebrate you? We can't celebrate you. In fact, the president is trying to only do a PR work for his vice president, who is now their presidential candidate. That is all that he's trying to do. You see that all throughout, as the economy gets worse and worse, the vice president moves away from economy to digitization. That's what he's trying to do. And the president is trying to do a PR work for him by cleaning his tracks as he moves away from the economy. But we will hold him, the vice president, to his own economy. We will not allow him to go and talk about digitalization. Digitalization that was started way back by the Rollins regime. You remember Bijawante Namekasa? Bijawante Namekasa was the introduction of mobile phone in this country. We started with analog, and then we went into GSM before coming to Android. These are all the evolution of digitalization in this country. Passport acquisition went live online during the John Mahama administration. You remember Hannah Tete, who was then the minister. So we will not allow the vice president to present himself as if he is the person who is involving digitization in this country. Right. He did not. And he has no idea about technology or digitalization. He should stick to the failings in the economy and own up. He should own up. Look, yesterday I heard you having an interview with a woman who was, I think the person who was being vetted, the deputy minister also who was being vetted, and it was asked a question, and he said that, look, it is a party decision. It was a political decision, and once I'm a part of the party, I take responsibility for whatever decision that the party took. That is what we expect the vice president to do. Okay. Rather than now touting himself as a driver's mate. When a driver is unable to operate the car and runs us to an accident, to a ditch,
that analogy has been dissected and bisected so much that I think everybody understands that you probably should have not said that. But I just wanted to add on the topic of inflation that the entire Africa has experienced a decline. Compared to 2023, that was like 18.7%. This year, 2024 so far, we are around 17-point-something%. So maybe that's what's reflecting in the figures that the Ghana Statistical Service is giving us. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I understand all that you said, but we have to wrap up. Okay. So, thank you so much, Mr. James Kofanan, NDC parliamentary candidate for Futu. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Right. This is how we're wrapping up for the news review. But coming up next is sports, AM Sports. Please stay with us.
The race to Jubilee House is on. Ghana is at a crossroads.
It's time for the people to choose, and the world is watching.
In a nation where every vote counts, every voice matters, there's one name you can trust for your election coverage.
JoyNews, your election headquarters. A team of seasoned journalists will bring you up-to-the-minute updates, unbiased analysis, and the stories behind the headlines.
Your election headquarters brings you Joy News 2024 election.
The election headquarters for an informed electorate. News, independent, fearless, credible.
Good morning. Let's do sports now on the AM show. My name is Harun Omwarak, and we start at the African Games, where Ghana's men's beach volleyball team faced a challenging match in the quarterfinals and ultimately bowing out to Morocco in 2 straight sets. The Sunday court was not friendly with the players, and they now have to nurse blisters from the intense heat after playing without a protective sand socks. Seydou Ajanako is a member of the team and spoke to Joy Sports.
Had a surprise, random change of competition format. What was discussed at the technical meeting? In beach volleyball, technical meeting is a day before the tournament or 2 days before. And they agreed that we are using a simple format that because it's 4 days, we are using top teams in each group. That's 6 groups to advance to the playoff. But when we started the tournament, they changed the whole format. So our group, we were 3 in the group, so we played more matches, continuous matches. But Morocco group was 2, so they played 2 matches and got a bye. They didn't even get more points than us after the first round. Because we were 3, we got 6 points, and they were 2, they got 4 points, and they got a bye. But we were the number 1 seed after the whole first round. So fatigue caused us to lose. We battled with against Algeria yesterday, 2-1. We won narrowly, 16-14. And they scheduled us super early this morning. You know, they rested the whole day. But I'm not using it as an excuse. The excuse is if we had gotten a better preparation before. I mean, when the African Games was given to Ghana after Morocco closing ceremony, Ghana should have started camping us gradual. 3 months they break us, 3 months they break us. Gradual to the fourth year would have been far better, and also send us to other countries to play friendly matches. You know, all our toes are full of blisters because of the heat of the sun. we didn't get all these things, you know, so that can also affect you.
You didn't get what?
The sun socks, yes. And then also in camp, right, and in the village, every treatments are going on all right, but that should have been before, during our preparation. We should have a massage therapist, nutritionist, and the others. It's all departments that come together to give the result. Yes. So we lacked some few things.
What explanation? Is it just the sun socks you did not have that you did not get?
Sun socks. Well, they gave us goggles.
I'm talking about the same items that you needed that were not provided. Is it just the sun socks?
Yes, just the sun socks. Yes.
What explanation was given for that?
I think that there's a shipment coming, and I don't know, it's delayed. Yes.
Now, the Ghana Volleyball Association has disassociated itself from comments made by Seydou Ajanako following Ghana's loss to Morocco. Elsewhere at the African Games, Zimbabwe triumphed over #1 ranked South Africa to secure gold in the women's T20 cricket competition. They claimed victory in the Super Over, preserving their unbeaten record and securing the first ever gold medal. Razak Musbao watched the game and has this report.
Now, the maiden edition of the women's T20 cricket event in the African Games has finally come to an end. And, well, it ended all here at the Chimoto Cricket Oval with Nigeria, the very unfancy side. They came into this competition as the lowest ranked side, made it to the semi-finals, but got beaten by Zimbabwe. Live to fight another day for the bronze medal against Uganda. They triumphed, and it was celebration galore. Now, the big contest was between the first ranked African team and the second. I'm talking about South Africa and Zimbabwe. They are the finest cricketers on the continent, and they had to contest for the gold medal after over 2 hours of quality cricket. It was South Africa who lost to Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe managed to clinch the first ever gold medal in the women's T20 cricket event in the African Games. It is historic for them, and guess what? They won it in Super Over. That is exceptional when it comes to cricket, and it's been excitement galore. I got to speak to the coach of the Zimbabwe national team, and she says it has been training upon training, and they're excited about the future that holds for Zimbabwe women cricket.
This just to boost us our morale as we go to the qualifiers.
Amazing. How were you able to get this team to beat the #1 ranked team on the continent?
So we just told them, no, go and play your game. So that's exactly what they did.
What have been working for Zimbabwe women's cricket?
No, just taking each ball at a time. Simple as that. Playing simple cricket, basic.
What does the future hold for you now?
We hope to get there finally. We hope to qualify for the World Cup.
Amazing. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
So we've got for you here from the Achimota Cricket Grounds. Up next is the men's category, starting on Sunday. And of course, Team Ghana will be in action, and we will be here to bring you all the updates. Reporting from the Achimota Cricket Grounds, Zach Musbao for Joy Sports.
South African judo gold medalist Jasmine Martin is aiming at qualifying for the Olympic Games after her sterling performance in the finals of the women's 57-kilogram limit event. She used her weight and technique to overpower an aggressive Dabon Zuleiha of Ivory Coast to win the much-coveted gold at the Trust Sports Emporium. She spoke to Nathaniel Atto after the big win.
I do remember that your final was a very, very tough one. Your opponent was also very tough.
Yes. I know her for quite a while now. We fought in the past. It was the hardest fight today, and it was good. Yeah.
Great stuff. What has been your fight strategy throughout this tournament to get you up to this point?
I think mainly has been mentally. Like I've been trying to stay more focused. I normally get so nervous, so I just try to stay in the moment and enjoy every single moment of it. Yeah.
Great stuff there. Tell me about the journey from here. After this gold medal, what you want to do next?
So I have Antalya Grand Prix coming up, and it's in 2 weeks. It's an Olympic qualification tournament. So obviously, I'm hoping to qualify for the Olympics. That's my main goal.
Great stuff there. And then what about the general organization, the competition, and Ghana? This is your first time in Ghana?
Yeah, it's first time in Ghana. Yeah, first time. Well, so far I'm enjoying it. Apart from the heat, it's very hot. But apart from that, it's really nice country. Yes. Yeah.
Great stuff there. Congratulations to you. And
Thank you.
finally, to all other aspiring judokas coming up, especially girls who want to go into judo, what will be your message of motivation for them?
Yes.
Just in case they're having any doubts.
Yeah. Never to give up and to just enjoy the moment and the journey, because it's a long one, it's a hard one, but if you enjoy it, it makes it so much better. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jasmine,
Thank
and
you.
congratulations.
Thank you very
We're
much.
wishing you well for the Olympics as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
there it is, Jasmine, the winner of the under 57 category for judo at the 13th edition of the African Games. More on the coverage of Joy Sports here from the games, and of course we're going to be bringing you some more conversations with the champions right here. Nathaniel Atto for Joy Sports.
To the Ghana Premier League, Accra Lions shocked Asante Kotoko in Kumasi after securing a 3-2 victory at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. It is now back-to-back losses for the Porcupines, which sees them drop to the 4th position on the league log.
Zeze Nuruddin. Amponsan, now Accra Lions moving dangerously. Here is Blessing Dankwa. It's a chance for Accra Lions. And Blessing Dankwa breaks the deadlock on the 10th minute. His 3rd Premier League goal in his 3rd Premier League game. He scored twice against Brekum Chelsea last week, and he scored against Asante Kotoko in 10 minutes at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. The Lions have roared louder, and the Porcupines are down by 1-0. Very decent heights to take care of those balls ahead of Watara. Here is Watara, a chance to equalize, and Kalo Watara has equalized just when I was talking about those two centre-backs taking care of them. Kalo Watara pops up and scores against Accra Lions for the 2nd time this season. He scored the winning goal against Accra Lions in Accra during the first. Poor clearance from Blay. Here is Dankwa, he's got the pace, he scored the first. Dankwa again, brilliant goal. 2 goals, and this one is a wonder goal. Blessing Asumai Dankwa, what a Premier League season he's having. Only 3 games in the Premier League and he scored 4 goals. As Accra Lions on the offensive again. It can be dangerous. Here is Amponsa. It is Amponsa. He shoots and he scored. The 3rd for Accra Lions. Accra Lions dismantling Asante Kotoko at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. They're up by 3 goals to 1. Unbelievable. They are tearing Kotoko apart. Dominic Amponsa on the score sheet in fantastic fashion. Kotoko 1, Accra Lions 3. It's Ensu. Good ball to Somwa. Can he get one back? And Somwa scores the Kotoko 2nd goal to make it 3-2. Somwa scores for Asante Kotoko. His 2nd stint with the club and still failing to convince them that he deserves to be here. It's over, and Accra Lions have shocked Asante Kotoko at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. Frustrating night under the lights in Kumasi for the Porcupine Warriors. Full time, Asante Kotoko 2.
The 0-0 draw with Kerala United. Brekum Chelsea, they are in 3rd. This follows their 1-0 win over Aduana. And Samatex, they are at the top of the table with 38 points. This follows their 2-0 win over Nsua-Triman. To the English Premier League, and Black Stars attacker Antoine Semenyo produced a stunning performance in Bournemouth's win over Luton Town. Now, Semenyo scored twice as his side came from 3 goals down to win 4-3 at the Vitality Stadium.
White shirts up in support here. Barkley's charging on ahead of Kabore if he sees him. He spots him now. Ross Barkley into the penalty area. Brereton blasted into the back of the net. It is 3-0 to Luton Town. Quite a remarkable first half here at the Vitality Stadium. We did not see this script coming.
Let's end with the Champions League, and Dortmund reached the quarterfinals for the first time in 3 years thanks to goals from Jadon Sancho and Marco Reus against PSV. Atletico Madrid also beat Inter Milan on penalties to qualify for the last 8 of the competition. And that's how we end the sports here on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak.
And already seeing a lot of the ball down the left-hand side.
He won the league, he won the cup, he won the UEFA with Inter as a player still. Very well, hardly thought of there. Barella, great chance. Is that the tie? Won and lost. Di Marco up in support. 32 minutes gone on the night. Atletico Madrid 0 Inter 1. Inter lead it 2-0 on aggregate. Molina changed his feet to get the cross in. The drive's been excellent. Shot back in by Koke, missed by the ball. Griezmann didn't take them long to get back in it. And a flag. Has it gone up? The referee's had a check. Correa has been bright since he came on. Depay. Koke couldn't clear his feet. Memphis Depay up the inside of the post. And it bounced away. Into the penalty, a chance for Depay! The tie is level! Sensational! Stuttering runner. Into the roof of the net, keeper got something on it. Lautaro Martinez, their top scorer, to keep them in it. Over the bar, would you believe it? Looks down at the penalty spot. It's Atletico Madrid who win the penalty shootout. And it's Atletico Madrid who reach the last 8. And Inter's first defeat of 2024 has come in spot kick drop.
The standard room size of the Ward District Court was full.
To every resident in our vibrant regions, brace yourself for an unforgettable and transformative journey with Nana Kwame Bediako as he embarks on the groundbreaking regional listening tour. From bustling cities to the serene landscapes of Ghana, say hello to a leader who genuinely listens to your concerns, dreams, and hopes for a better community and country. A leader who is ready to get things moving again with you and by you. Nana Kwame Bediako, Banga Sankasa, Bae, Bona, Yena Zoa, Nwanan, Oliba. He's coming live and colored to your communities. Get ready. It's your time to be heard.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
chese na me ankasa me period na say problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chese na nya asem ketewa na me coin point no mo hwe me modem no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro me fire no ene ma won kra me enu foforo kwa na mkwan mu a eba
head everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko end point o mama nura ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante
that's end point for you
of Akrobato
hello
hey ohwehwe what che
okay
a free bra wo di end point wa dance a me call ye no me Johnson sema na enkoyie empa na ma yemre nyina na magina sebema na me ni fie for de e ho na nyina jaresa
you heard everything I have secret end point is my secret end point homeopathic clinic I'm free
Customer. Nada bena minka me twa papa. Me twa 10 Ghana. 10 Ghana cedis. Na no dia, say na obenya. 10 Ghana cedis no. Me dia. Me di 54,000 Ghana cedis. 54,000. 540 million. Here. £2. Bia me ma dompe soft. Bia how they want na me twa me di ehun. Yeah. And then I get it now. Boki. Draw no assassin. Mammy, you volume. Wait. Customer. What is? Maggie. Hey, make a big four. Make you for phone. Darling. Star 946 hash. Now that pick 4 numbers. It's a no crosser. What that? I can draw when I don't know. Take that 54. Mario. Numbers from 0 to 9 up to 3 times daily to become one of our daily lucky winners. Dial star 946 hash to play now. Or you can also play online at www.gamepackgames.com. Game Park is regulated by the National Lottery Authority.
It's good to stay strong together. It's good to share nutritious meals cooked with Fritol, a vitamin A fortified oil. Fritol, you deserve a life of goodness. This advert.
Welcome back on the AM show. This is the big stories now, but our first conversation on the table is the issue of the Gadangme lands that have been in circulation for a while between the Ghana Armed Forces and the the Association of La Community, La Associations. Also, we heard John Mahama on his recent tour of the Greater Accra region, and he was promising to set up a commitment to look into this. In the studio with me for this conversation is Jeffrey Tete, spokesperson for Coalition of La Associations. Jeffrey, good morning, and thank you for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you.
Right, so let's get straight into it. We saw a press statement from both the Ghana Armed Forces and the Coalition of La Associations on this issue of the Galans. So just to establish some clarity for the conversation, let's get into the actual facts of the situation. We know that from the press releases that we've seen that there are 2 categories of lands involved. There's land that was acquired by the government for the Ghana Armed Forces, and there's land that was just occupied by the Ghana Armed Forces, which was not subject to the acquisition. Is this correct?
That's correct.
When did this happen?
Okay, so the lands were acquired during the colonial era. Okay, so we have the aerodrome acquisition, the anti-Amara aerodrome acquisition, and a whole lot of them. Looking at from the airport area all the way to where we call Chado now. But this particular land in contention is called the Plecho lands, and it's situated just around where the Major Mahama roundabout is. So, in fact, the military cemetery, from where the military cemetery is all the way to the Major Mahama roundabout, and then you turn towards the Air Force base, that stretch of land over there is the one in contention.
And when did this last two, when did the coalition petition the ministry to release some of the lands back to you?
Okay, so this has been ongoing for quite some time. I think it's taken about 15 years since we started this fight. And it's not just the coalition, it is the traditional council. We are just their sons and daughters who are more or less like the ones who go and come looking into these issues. But it's actually on the auspices of the Traditional Council. Now, the Traditional Council's argument is that there were lands that were acquired for specific purposes, and the law says that if those lands are not being used for the purpose for which it was acquired, it should revert back to the allodial owners, in this case, the Traditional Council. And then there are lands which does not, or is not affected by any acquisition. Those ones are automatically for the La people. Okay, but the military over the years has tried to take over the entire stretch over there. Now, people are saying that, the traditional authorities are saying that, okay, give us back the land that were acquired and are not being used for the purpose for which they were acquired, as well as take your hands off those ones which were not acquired. And these are arguments.
All these lands are in the airport east area?
Exactly.
The
Plecho area. We call the place Plecho. Sometimes the military churns out some falsehoods and they say it is Bema Camp lands, but that is not Bema Camp lands. When you go into history and you look at the records, we know exactly where Bema Camp is. So that is not Bema Camp lands. Okay, so there has been a series of events, correspondence, and issues going up. We've gone to court. There's been several judgments on this particular land dating back to somewhere around 2013, thereabout, when the then Deputy Attorney General, Dominic Ayine, even stated that those lands are not military lands. It should be given to the La people. Now, fast forward a few years back, I think it's stated in this press release. Now, those lands, the then Minister for Lands, Honorable Asuma Chairman, okay, he looked at the entire 350 acres of land and said that, okay, he set up a committee actually, and the committee determined that 250 acres of those lands should be given to the La people and 75 be given to the military.
When did he say this and where, and who was present?
This was in November 2020. November 2020. Now, present were, in fact, there was a tripartite committee that was formed, made up of the Traditional Council, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and then the Ghana Armed Forces. So they worked over a period of time and came to that conclusion that 250 acres of those lands should be given to the La people, and then 75 acres should be given to the Ghana Armed Forces. So the military were part of that decision that was taken. Now, immediately after the elections in 2020.
Wait, let's take it step by step, because we are looking for clarity. This tripartite committee that you're talking about, that meeting, was it an agreement? Was that a conclusion of the meeting that 250 acres of the land should be given back to the people? And was the military, the representation of the Ghana Armed Forces, the representative for the Association of the STU, and the ministry, did you all conclude on this issue that this is the way forward?
Yes, that was the conclusion, and it was done.
Do you have documents to prove this?
In fact, there was at the end of their deliberations. Okay, there was a document that came out that said that the 250 acres has been given to the La people, and this document was signed by the minister, Honorable Asuma Chairman. Okay, so after that, the La people decided to go onto their portion of the land and then work on the land, and then the armed forces came in and using brute force, beat up people, including media personnel who were there to cover the event, because when the La people were going there, we decided to take the media there. We've been making noise over that for a long time. We've been calling press conferences, issuing statements. So it was fair that we bring back the media so they know that the land has been given to us. We even erected a signpost to thank the president. Thank you, Mr. President, for giving us our land. And the Ghana Armed Forces personnel came and then destroyed, they pulled down the image of the president on the billboard. They pulled it down. And it was serious. Now, fast forward, after they beat the people up, the issue came to the current Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, that's Honorable Abu Jinapo. We once met him at the Lands Ministry, at the Lands Commission, and that was where he decided that he was going to set up another committee because he didn't want to tie his hands with what his predecessor had done. So he decided to form a new committee. Now, the new committee was made up of the same groups, the Ghana Armed Forces, because they were stakeholders, the La Traditional Council, and then the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Now, they worked up to 2022, somewhere around August, and came to a conclusion. This time around, they gave the people of La only 114.52 acres. 114.52 acres.
Okay.
A huge reduction from 250. But the people of La took that in good faith because the argument was that the government, through the military, needed some more lands to, expand. And being good landlords, and we have given out lands to the government in previous administrations, even during the colonial era, we decided that, okay, if government is going to use the land for national purpose, we are going to give it out.
But what was your intended purpose for the land that you want to reclaim? Out of the 250 acres of land that was agreed to be returned to you, the 114, what was the intended purpose? What are you going to use those lands for?
We are these La people, and we have our traditional authorities. Whatever they want to use the land for, probably they want to do some investments that will benefit the people. Because you see, when you look at La, we've given out lands to government. I think we have contributed lands more than any other township in this country to national development. And if I want to stay from the South La Estates, from the Cantonment Estates, La Bonnie, University of Ghana, we talk about what was acquired for dairy farms, we talk about the trade fair, we talk about the Bema camp itself, a whole lot that we have given out. So we need this one to also use for some development purposes, which was intended to benefit our people.
And are you saying that you're only looking to get these lands back only because the government or the Ghana Armed Forces is not actually using it for anything? Or they use it, you just want it back?
These are bare lands, virgin lands.
Maybe
lands,
they train there. It's the military. They have their own...
They don't do anything. We know our forefathers used to cultivate okra and watermelon on those lands, And up till today, there are people there who still cultivate okra. There has been no construction there. The Armed Forces has done absolutely nothing there.
Are you saying these lands are close to the Armed Forces, the barracks, the Bema camp areas?
Bema camp.
Right?
Well, let me say it's not too far from Bema camp.
Right.
It's not too far from Bema camp, but...
So there's a possibility that the lands are being used for some military purposes.
The lands are not being used. And our argument is that when you enter Bema camp itself, there are pockets of lands which are not being used. So if the military wants to use land, they have land enough land they can utilize within Bema camp. Now, our argument is even, let me bring you back to why we issued this press statement. Now, somewhere last year, government had actually given La people a lease on that land, 114.52 acres. Government has granted us a lease. There's a letter from the presidency, there are correspondence from the Ghana Armed Forces to the La Traditional Council telling us that, yes, they acknowledge. In fact, there was a visit to the La Traditional Council by the military hierarchy, and present at that meeting, at that visit, was the Major General Ando, NP Ando, who was then the Chief of Staff. We also had Major General Oseusu, who is currently the Chief of Staff. We had Brigadier General Amu Abuachi, who was part of that tripartite committee that deliberated on the lands issue. And their visit to the Traditional Council was to acknowledge that the land belongs to the La people and that they wanted to see how we can work together, and then the La people will coexist with them. Right. That's why they came there. But After we went there to perform some customary rites to open the way for us to do our constructions there, the military 1 week later issued a statement and said that they are not aware that land has been given to us.
Hold on. Let's move step by step.
Okay.
Now, out of that 250 acres of land, you're saying that the military actually gave you back 114 acres.
It was government that gave us.
Government gave it back, and they didn't contend over those lands.
They did not contend over it.
Great.
In fact, let me...
So what you're looking for, this reclamation ceremony that you conducted,
yeah.
Was it on the 114 acres of land or the entire 250 acres of land, which only 114 had been cleared for you?
We have admitted that government needed part of the land for the military use, so we accepted the 114. Okay. And so our customs we performed was on the 114 acres. We are not even asking for
the remaining...
yes. We took only the 114 acres. And even the 114 acres that's been given to the military is still preventing us from going onto our land to work on it. Look, this is a letter from the Office of the President, okay? It's dated 27th April 2022, addressed to the Honorable Minister, that's Minister of Lands, and it says, request for executive approval in respect of La Lands. I refer to your letter dated 21st March 2022 with reference number DB 95/110/02 in respect of the above subject matter. The President has granted approval for the taking of appropriate measures to release portions of the lands to the last two and to acquire other portions of the lands in accordance with the terms contained in the letter under reference. I shall be grateful if you could take requisite action on the above. It's signed by Nana Bidi Etu Asante.
Okay.
Okay, this is from the Office of the President. Okay, and I mean, the President has given approval. Now, after that, the President has granted last two a lease on the 114 acres of land. You can see...
And that is where you performed your reclamation
ceremony.
Okay.
And now, after that, the military has sworn not to allow us. And they said that they are not aware. And they said that there is still ongoing negotiations.
They're saying that there's a committee that was set up. You're saying that after the clarity that was, you gained from reclamation, lands to be returned to you, lands that are not being used to be returned to the pre-acquisition owners, right? But after that, things changed when there was a change in leadership, right? When Abu Jinapor assumed office.
Yes.
So there was obviously a new committee that was set up. And this new committee, according to the statements released by the Ghana Armed Forces, they've not concluded on this issue yet.
So this thing I gave to you is based on the work the new committee has done. And the new committee concluded their deliberations as far back as August 2022. So it is based on their recommendations that the 114 was released to us instead of 250. You understand? So they had concluded their work. Now, what the Ghana Armed Forces is doing is misleading their rank and file. They are misleading the general public, and they are lying to the people. And I've mentioned names of people who are involved. You can call their PR department and find out from them. If they are not aware of all these things, they are very much aware. But for whatever reasons we don't know, they are preventing the people of land.
But in your own statements, I believe that's a copy you have with you. You did acknowledge that it might be possible that there's still ongoing work by the committee. How do we tally those two?
No, it is not about ongoing work. Okay. After the work, the committee has sealed their work. It's been signed. The president has given approval, and actually a lease has been granted to the La people. Once the lease is granted, the committee has done their work.
But you acknowledge that there could be work ongoing.
What we said was that the military is still trying to convince the minister, for whatever reasons we don't know, to maybe stop us from taking our land. That is what we are talking about. But it's not about the committee doing its work. It's the military that is trying to use some backdoor approach to now maybe hold their minister to... And you see, Honorable Dominic Nitiwu, who is the Minister of Defense, is aware of this. When he took office, in fact, the coalition of La associations visited him to deliberate with him over these issues. He's aware. He told us then that he knows that this land should belong to the La people. It belongs to the La people. So we are surprised that all of a sudden, he, as the minister, who has ultimate responsibility over the armed forces as the minister, is not saying anything about this issue.
Ghana, we live in a democracy.
Yes.
And the rule of law works.
Yes.
Where does the judiciary stand in all of this?
You see,
because this is between you Coalition of Law Associations and the Ghana Armed Forces.
All right.
Have you gone to court? Have you sought any judicial intervention?
So the reason why we are not going to court currently is that previously, under the Mahama administration, I mentioned Dominic Ayine, who was then the Deputy Attorney General. We had gone to court. The court had made a pronouncement that the land belongs to the La people. And then the military refused, even injunctions that
How did they refuse?
They are disrespecting the rule of law.
Okay.
It's the Ghana forces that's disrespecting the rule of law. And they have done everything possible to ensure that, you know, when you are going to serve them and you are entering the army barracks and they know you are a bailiff and they have guns and they prevent you, when we live in a democracy. So wherein lies the discipline we have known the military for? Where is it? They have not thrown the discipline we know them for into the gutters. And they are disrespecting every aspect of our democracy. Now they live in a banana state, so they do what they like. And we don't want it to get to that point. What they are doing now is going to breed chaos. That's exactly what they are doing. Because we want to coexist with the military peacefully. You understand? And we don't want a situation where we are going to have any tussle with anybody in uniform. They are supposed to protect us. In fact, by virtue of the fact that the military has their headquarters in La, we feel that we are the most secured people in this country. Bema camp within La, we are the most secured people. But you see, for us, we don't have the cocoa, we don't have the gold. All we have is our lands. And so if you are taking our lands from us, we see it like you are sucking the blood out of us. And that is where we are saying, I am a youth leader. I may restrain, I may try to make my people, prevent them from taking any action that would be against the law. But when I am asleep, I don't know what some of our people will do. And that's what we want to prevent. And so we are asking the president, as the commander-in-chief, to call his people to order. He has ultimate responsibility over the armed forces.
But he is not a judge. My question is, this is obviously something that should be resolved in court. Land disputes are resolved in court. If you're trying amicably and it's not working, and the military is saying that they're also committed to a peaceful resolution of this matter, what they take exception to, per their statement, is the premature announcement of these lands that you say you've reclaimed. So why don't you put this issue to court again after the first order or the first judgments have been you say it's been disrespect. They are disrespecting the order, right? Yes. So why don't you seek appeal? Why don't you go back and ensure that the rule of law is guiding how you actually navigate? I am
saying that the court has made pronouncements before in the past, and the army has refused to respect it.
So why don't you go back?
You go back, and they will still disrespect. So now we are using the executive arm of government to talk to them. And that's how come a committee was set up and they participated in the deliberation. You see, that's where my pain is. They sat in the deliberations, participated throughout the deliberations, and this thing started way back in 2017. They sat through the deliberations all the way up till now.
Would you say you've been patient enough?
We've been too patient.
Because they are calling it premature.
We've been too patient, okay? And because we don't want our community to go up in flames, we don't want to take actions that would make us seem as being bad people, we continue to be patient, and we are asking the appropriate authorities to take action. Because if those appropriate authorities do not take the necessary actions and anything untoward happens, who is to blame?
What are you calling appropriate action?
Appropriate action is to call the military to order and tell them that this land doesn't belong to you. We've given you, look, from 350, okay, we were giving 250. We were giving 75.
There's a remaining 138 or so.
Now, we've rather been giving 114, and the remainder of the 350 has been given to the military. You've gotten more than we have gotten, the rightful owners of the land. We have gotten less, and still you don't want to allow us have access to our land. This is too bad.
What's the way forward?
The way forward is that we have an executive president. So we want to use this forum to ask the president, as the commander-in-chief, we appeal to his office as the commander-in-chief. He can call the Minister of Defense, he can call the Chief of Defense Staff and tell them that I have used my executive powers to grant this lease to the La people. Leave it and let them have their lands. Simple. So we're appealing to the president.
If this appeal is not heeded,
we will continue. We will continue our agitations, and I'm sure, like I said, maybe I wouldn't want it that way, but it will be a recipe for chaos, because when people start rising up, and it will not be just against the military, it will be against government, the government of the day, whichever government is in power at any point in time, it will be against them. We started our demonstrations in 2016 when President Mahama was in power. We've agitated over these same lands up till now. And yes, there's going to be an election. If no action is taken, we will continue our fight. The people of La are very resilient. We wouldn't stop. We are persistent too. We will continue to fight for this our land because, like I said, it is our bloodline. That is what our forebears bequeathed to us, and we are not going to let it go.
So I see one of two things happening. Either the president actually heeds your cry and says, take back your land because you are the pre-acquisition owners, or because the government actually has the right to acquire lands for state purposes or national purposes. They could say they're reclaiming these lands, they're reacquiring these lands for government issues, for the Ghana Armed Forces. And then what do you do then?
So if you listen to the letter I read from the presidency.
I'm saying that this did not work. Courts did not work.
This is something that
you have a lease that they are not adhering to. You went to court, there was an order, there was a judgment. You said they are not adhering to that either. So what if this route that you're taking, asking the president to intervene, what if his way is saying that, well, hold on first a while. The Ghana Armed Forces still has use for this land, or these 250 or 136 acres of land. What then do you do?
So the argument still is, if the Ghana Armed Forces needs land for further development, there are pockets of land within Bema Camp and other places where they can use. When you go to, is it Bondase area, okay, they have large tracts of lands they can use. In any case, you see, by international convention, the military is not even supposed to be sited within civilian population. But it is only here you find a place like Bema Camp sitting right at the heart.
Is that not the reason why, for security purposes, that perhaps they are not disclosing what they intended, what they're actually using the land for?
We can still have security. Yeah. If the nation wants to protect the people of La, we can still have that security. If they want to protect the citizenry, we can still have that security. The police are there, and we can maintain some of the military people at their base. But we are not even saying that they should leave. What we are saying is that if they need land to further develop, they have pockets of land. In any case, when you go to Bema Camp now, we've gone from developing horizontal to vertical. So a small piece of land can be developed vertically, and they can have a lot of space in there.
Right.
So they should concentrate within Bema Camp, and then the remainder of the land that has been given to them at Plechu, and then leave the 114 acres of land for the people of La.
So that's all you're fighting for, the 114 acres, which is just a part of the original 250 acres that was given back to you. All right. We have to wrap this up, but I'm curious, when was the last time you had any kind of interaction with the military, with Ghana Armed Forces, aside this press statements that they released? When was your last encounter with them?
I think the last encounter was around either October or November, where the Traditional Council had a meeting with them at Bema Camp. Yes, that was then.
And what was the outcome of that?
You see, they keep talking. They will tell you they will get back to you, and they never will. That's their modus operandi, and so they try to play the delay tactics. And you see, this land we are talking about, when first the government decided to give it to us under Asuma Chireme, immediately the military head, after they have been part of the deliberations, then they started some special developments within, just to cover up the land. So that's when they build something like a warehouse just close to the cemetery. They built some chalets. I don't know whether they are quarters. They built around the Air Force Base. So they wanted to just build within the spaces and just to cover up the place. And that was when we raised alarms and stopped them. As we speak now,
I still maintain that the military cannot disclose the exact purposes of these lands or what they do with them to you.
So they were part of the team that did the demarcation. As we speak now, there are pillars there, and they were part of it. They wrote to us, and the letter is there. They wrote to us that they have set a date for us and their people to go and do the demarcation because they've acknowledged government has given the land to us. And I have the letter right here. Now we went with them, we mounted the pillars. This is for La. They were part of it. The pillars were mounted. The pillars are still there. Anybody can go and verify.
My final question to you. Do you think that they're refusing to give you back these lands for their own private use, or it's still for national purpose?
Well,
why do you think they're holding back?
Well,
do you think that they want to...
I don't want to say for private use. We know within the Chado area, there are some areas which were previously supposed to be part of this land, which has been occupied by some individuals. We know, okay? But we don't even want to go there because we've had issues with those things.
So the lands are being occupied by private individuals?
Not this particular 114 we are talking about. Okay. Not even part of the
the ones that you're fighting,
but they have previously occupied
acres of land.
Yes.
That you want back from
that
the
land is
forces.
bare. It's bare. There's nothing going on there. It's bare. So we want them to leave the land for the La people. We give out land for national development. So if we need the land back, it should be given to us, especially those ones that were not part of the acquisition.
They were just occupied.
They were just occupied.
Any final words before?
Like I said, we are appealing to the office of the president to take action. That's what we are looking for.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey Tete, spokesperson for the coalition of La associations on the issue of the Ghana Armed Forces land disputes between them and the La Association. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll continue the big stories. Benjamin Akakpo's AM exclusive is standing by. We'll be right back.
Daddy, this tank is big.
Yes, that's true.
It can store a lot of water.
That's so true.
Wow, it has a working tortoise on it.
That's so true.
I can see S-I-N-T-E-X. Syntax.
That is so true, my daughter.
When it falls down, it will spoil.
That's not true.
But why?
Hey! Syntax was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntax again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntax gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntax is the answer. Syntax tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
We know the dream is big. We know the passion gets you going. And you have the potential to make great strides. The Chartered Institute of Marketing, Ghana, has always been an avid supporter of industry excellence and innovation. This is why we are excited to announce the CIMG Professional Marketing Qualifications. CIMG has designed practical courses to help you make that dream a reality right here in Ghana. We are geared up and ready to support you on this journey to becoming a world-class professional marketer. Register today and be on your way to greatness. For more information, call us on 055-274-6592. Visit our website www.cimghana.org or email us on info@cimghana.org. Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, working for Ghana.
When I look at the economic management team, it is quite clearly a fantastic team. Professor Jambafo, Senior Minister Yao Osafo Maf. What a solid team.
It is your essential guide to the pulse of Ghana's democracy. Election Brief offers you a front row seat to the latest updates, in-depth analysis, and comprehensive coverage.
What does this mean? We therefore project it is almost statistically impossible for President John Dramani Mahama to achieve 50% plus one. Our projection is that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will win the 2016 presidential election.
The champion, undefeated,
During this campaign season, our experienced team of reporters will bring you exclusive insights, breaking news, and unbiased reporting from every corner of Ghana.
The people have met him with excitement and they keep chanting Savior to imply that they believe that he holds the key to turning the economic fortunes of the country.
As vice president, I am like a driver's mate. But by the grace of God, if you make me the president, I will be in the driver's seat with constitutional.
We dive deep into the strategies, the promises, and the people shaping the future of our country. Election Brief isn't just about the headlines. It is about the voices of the people.
This is an election. These people came to us that they are going to maintain everyone. And here lies the case. We have the videos, evidence. And now they've taken our names out. Look at the number of people here. And you expect us to let the election go on. Never.
Join the conversation and have your say. Your voice matters in shaping Ghana's future. Catch the Election Brief every weekday from 2 to 2:30 p.m. only on JoyNews. JoyNews, your election headquarters. Good morning. Welcome to JoyNews Desk. My name is Aisha Ibrahim.
Let me tell you, this is not a small job at all.
What can you report from the Fana community?
We are still sounding the alarm for people who are hiding to know that help has come.
The board is supposed to be meeting this morning to deliberate on this nominee.
Yes, this problem has been recurring over time.
The people have invested the fruits of their excellence, and you want to throw it away because you think you can. No, it's not lawful for him to do it, period.
What's the basis that these financial assurances will be giving latest today?
If you follow what had transpired over the week, we got the information when the president addressed the May Day celebration, indicating that China is going to come on board.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this Thursday morning as we bring you our latest installment of AM Exclusive. And today we find ourselves in another home. Someone has been gracious enough to welcome us. I'll give you some clues. He's a physician by profession. He's a medical doctor. He's very outspoken. He's been in sports for a long time. When you think Accra Hearts of Oak, he's one of the names you will think of. And football, generally, in Ghana. Well, he's also a founding member of the MPP. I think that's the icing on the cake. I'm talking about none other than Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. He's been gracious enough to welcome us into his abode this Thursday morning. Doc, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
For joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. It has been a while. I guess it's only fitting to start off with how you have been. I was teasing you when we got in that the older you get, the younger you look. What's your secret?
That reminds me of what President of the U.S. said recently. He was asked a similar question. His answer was straightforward, and I think I will answer the same way too. Day in and day out, I get more handsome.
I see.
So it all depends on how I look after myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it the God factor?
Is
People have said that if you love God and if you reflect it in your daily life, it also impacts you. It shows spiritually. What is
spiritually? Well, I would not sort of deny that could be a factor, an important factor. But at the same time, as you as an individual looks after yourself, what you do to your physical body itself is very important. So that's the way I look at it.
And speaking of spirituality, I didn't mean to go here, but since it's come up, some people have asked, and I see your great-grandfather. Great-great-grandfather in there. What do you adhere to? Are you a traditionalist? Are you Christian? Are you Muslim? What are you?
Well, I'm a Christian.
Okay.
At the same time, I believe strongly in the roots I come from.
Right.
Strongly.
Right.
The old man you see there, that's the grandfather of my grandfather.
Right.
So it goes back quite long in history. I don't have to say much about him because a lot has been said about him, not just in this country, but outside the borders of this country. And I believe strongly in this tradition, the way he was a traditionalist. However, he was the same person who brought Roman Catholic Church to the Keta districts, all the way from Togo.
Interesting. He was Roman Catholic.
Exactly.
He was a traditionalist.
He was a
and he brought the
traditionalist.
Catholic Church into the
when he heard of the Roman Catholic Church being established somewhere in Togo in those days, he sent his own carriers. In those days, there were no vehicles. And they went and brought the people down to Keta. He gave them a land, which is there today, you can see. They built a school. They built a church, which is there till today.
Right.
And then they built a cemetery, which we call a churchyard, attached to this, to the church. And one interesting thing is that the wives wanted to find out what he would like to have in return. He said, I don't need anything, but make sure all my children go to this school free.
Oh, wow. What a wise choice. And they granted him that.
And that's how most of people got educated very early.
And of course, the spin-off effect, because then generations down the line, you also benefited from that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, we celebrate him as well, your great-grandfather, and the wonderful great-great-grandfather, and the wonderful things he did in his life. Sometimes it's almost going back that far, great-great-grandfather, pardon me. But speaking of which, again, I just want to briefly, because we're talking about spirituality and all that, the National Cathedral, on the 6th of March, that was when? This year. We said we would have commissioned it and all of that. And it's still there, a big pit, nothing to show. And some of Ghana's taxpayers' money has been put in there, contrary to the promise that was given Ghanaians. How do you feel about that project?
If you will remember, the last interview I had with you, we spoke about that. And I said, it's unfortunate that state resources have been wasted on this. It's a waste. Nothing else, it's a waste.
It's a waste.
It's a waste.
If it's completed, it can still serve a touristic purpose.
When the government is in power, and that's the problem we face as Africans. Let's be very frank. And we fail to see our priorities. It shows clearly that we don't know where we are heading to. I mean, this is a nation in debt. This is a nation where the ordinary person take-home pay is less than $1. And you talk about National Cathedral. I mean, I can't understand it. Even to use it either as a policy or even your manifesto, or even as a private project, as the president told us from the word go.
But what if God had in fact told him to do this?
Exactly.
No, but what if God had in fact told him to do this, like he says?
We're all Christians. Fortunately, unfortunately, we have around our political leaders religious people. And I believe strongly in practical religion.
Practical religion?
Yes.
Right. What exactly is that?
I mean, you do exactly what you preach. It's as simple as that.
Practice what
That's practical religion. And I must honestly stand up for Sheikh Sharabutu.
The national chief.
I am telling you, I have tremendous respect for that man. He's a pragmatist. You follow me? There are a lot of issues that have confronted this country, but for that man, there would have been disaster in this country. No one should joke about that. No one, no sane politician should take that as a joke. You promise people that you are going to build a cathedral. That's how the news came out initially. To honor God on certain promises that you have made to him.
Right.
Then it turned out to be a different story. By the time we realize state money is being pumped into it, look at the amount of money that has been pumped into that one. That can build a very complex 2 hospitals or anywhere in the country.
And now we're being told the cost has ballooned hugely, not even the $400+ million we were looking at, but a lot more, multiples of that now, if we're going to complete it.
And you know what is even more ridiculous is that throughout history, at least what I have read, I have not come across a cathedral that has been built within even 10 years.
Right.
So what's the point? What exactly are we trying to, or the president wants to tell us? I don't understand it.
Interesting dynamics in there, because of course the Notre Dame and others have been built over the centuries, and even when it was gutted with fire, it took quite a while before it could be brought back to its current state. But I'm also interested in something. I see these wonderful lights here and all of that. I need to ask, do you have a generator or a plant or something?
I have a generator.
You have a generator?
I have a generator.
Okay,
because
so
I was off the main distance. I just came back this morning.
Your lights went off?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so
yesterday even
thank God our host has a generator. I had to ask that question because of the current state of affairs.
Yeah.
What would you call this power outage? Because the term doomsday has been used and it's been pushed back heavily, fiercely by government, by even the ECG boss. What would you call what we're experiencing?
Look, I at times get so sad when I look at certain issues facing this country. Dishonesty is one thing that's destroying this country. Leaders not being honest with the people they are leading. This so-called doomsday didn't start today. As far back as the time of Jerry John Rawlings,
indeed,
it started showing its ugly face.
Well, we're subsidizing electricity and later took it off.
Absolutely.
Right.
It got worse when Kufuor came to power, when I was an ambassador in Serbia. I had a call because the messages went around so that areas that probably heavy machinery can be used to generate power. So I was called and I was briefed about that. It was that serious. You follow me? Then came Atamils. Atamils managed it somehow. Then came John Mahama. And I think he tackled the fundamentals. That's the real problem facing the country.
And things came to a head for about 3 years.
Yes.
We had this problem situation.
You follow me? Then we took over. I'm talking about NPP. with the promises that we gave all along, everybody expected us to carry on very well. I don't want to go into so-called, what do you call it, agreement signed with companies. I don't have interest in that. But at least it is the duty of government to make sure that the citizenry are given power to work with.
Are they failing in that duty?
Of course, yes. Look at what is happening in the country now.
But they keep pushing back and saying it is not because we lack the finances. It's not because we lack the capacity. There are some challenges. ECG will tell you we're doing maintenance here and there. Others will tell you, oh, the IPPs, there are some disagreements, but we are working things out. ECG has to give them some money. I listened to the ECG boss recently, Mr. Apetogbo, the representative for the IPPs, was saying one thing. The ECG boss was also on another trajectory. At some point, they converged. But the point being that no one wants to take blame for where we are.
You know, just before you came, I was watching TV3. And there's this lady who I respect a lot.
Right.
That's Madam Jantwa.
Right.
Look.
Of the CPP.
Of the CPP.
Right.
Her analysis was perfect. This morning, so just about 15 minutes ago.
Right.
And I'll go back what she said.
Which was what?
Because she has been there before. He said, we don't have money to buy fuel, gas, and other things. Full stop. No, that's why I keep on saying that if a leader is not honest with his people, he falls into this sort of traps. This government has not been honest. This government has not been honest with his people right from the word go.
But if you say that, you are then saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Mr. President, the first gentleman of the Republic, is dishonest. Is that what you're saying?
It's not being honest with the people of this country.
From day one?
From day one. Even right when he was being sworn in. You know it. You are a journalist.
Oh, are you referring to his speech?
Of course, yes. That should have alarmed us. Even though I've warned Ghanaians the days before that they shouldn't vote him in.
I remember that video.
Yes.
I remember.
That should have alarmed
But these are mistakes that do happen. I mean, his speech was written for him. These are mistakes that do happen. How can you fault him for that?
What do you mean by they are mistakes that do happen?
I mean, once in a while,
a head of state, a Ghanaian head of state. Even if a speech has been written for him, he should go through the speech.
But even the presidents of Harvard and others have been cited for some plagiarism here and there and other places. So many of them. You've seen them. I mean,
if the president of Harvard, you are talking about